best in radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
You're listening to the Financial Survival Network. This is Kerry Lutz. With us now, well, our old friend Dave Bego. Heard about him before. His book, The Devil at Our Doorstep, exposing the real agenda of big labor, and might as well add to that big government as well. Dave, it's so great to have you back.
Well, Kerry, thanks for having me on. It's always a pleasure.
Hey, so rumors of a movie about your book, based upon your book, and hey, it's not one of those things that gets loosely based upon the book. Everything in your book is really the truth.
Well, that's right, Kerry, and I'm cautiously optimistic, but there's people around the country and different parts of the countries that have brought it up and are talking to people they know about doing something, doing a movie on it, because it isn't just about unions. It's, as you alluded to, it's about the government and the government corruption, how the unions control the government. It's also, though, about American free enterprise and the American dream. You know, if people really want to work hard enough and persevere and do the right things, they can build their own lifestyle and businesses and realize the American dream. And it also talks about the pitfalls along the way when you run into the union people who want to force unionize your people, how they use union dues to corrupt people and politicians. And it even talks about the immigration issue some, because I've got a story in the book where about companies using illegal immigrants to undermine companies like us who are doing the right thing and paying legal wages and benefits and that, and how we can't compete with them, which is a major problem right now in this country. And it talks about the clergy involvement. It talks about employees and their perspective on this. I mean, this thing contains a whole lot that's very pertinent to what's going on in America today, and the fact that we don't have God in our country as much as we used to.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big factor. And, you know, we're also talking competence here. Competence is so important. I won't say that the government has ever been competent at doing much of anything. They've managed to get things done in the past much better than they can do it today. And certainly at the present time, we're very fortunate that they're not competent. But look, the left, when it comes to the left running things, actually getting things done, even their own agenda items, other than Obamacare, what have these guys been able to really accomplish in the past 6 years other than making a mess of things?
Well, Kerry, they haven't, and I honestly think that's part of their agenda, is that they want to bring down America. They want to see America be a socialistic state. But the truth is, and back to what you were asking, is that these people only know how to achieve something through, lies and misinformation and intimidation tactics, and they don't know how to operate in a free market capitalistic society. So instead of trying to learn how to survive and be successful in our type of society, their intent is just to use their tactics to bring it down and to control the country and contain power on their behalf. And it's sad. It really is sad.
And Dave, you built your company from the ground up, basically. And, when we talk about crony capitalism, things like that, you didn't have the government clearing the way for you to help make you a success, did you?
No, and I'm glad you brought that up, because that's another part that I talk about in my book, is that I did this on my own. I started out cleaning my insurance agent's office, which was about 5,000 or 6,000 square feet, and today we built it into where we're in 38 states, and that's through hard work and doing the right things and taking care of employees, which are your biggest asset, and of course your customers and that. And one thing that I've refused to do along the way is I don't want the government involved. I don't want their handouts. I don't want any government funding. I want to be able, and we have been able to do it on our own. And we don't even, quite honestly, do any federal government work. and we do no state government work that I know of, and we do a few municipalities, and that's it. But even in those, we refuse to take handouts from the government or get freebies back from them because we're doing business with them.
Yeah, and I'm sure you have no regrets about that either.
No, we don't. I think it has held us in good stead. And the interesting thing is that there's a lot of politicians don't like it because they want to trade with you. We'll get you the business doing this if you'll do this for this. And I just don't believe in that. But the few municipalities we do, they really respect us for what we do and how we handle ourselves and how we conduct business above board and legitimately.
Yeah. And when you do business with the government, it always comes with strings, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah, it does. And, I quite honestly, I never even got involved in politics until the SEIU attacked us starting back in late 2006. And the only reason I did back then is because I got a wake-up call because they were using politicians against us, having them call our customers and tell them to cancel our contracts. Plus, I signed a neutrality agreement eliminating my people's right to a secret ballot election. And so I had to get involved and get to know some of these politicians. I went to Washington a lot in 2009, 2010 to make sure the Employee Free Choice Act did not get passed. And I saw what was going on in Washington, and I'm appalled that we've let our country get to the state it's in.
Hey, and yeah, that's interesting because the Employee Free Choice Act, as they called it, was quite the opposite. Would have really taken away free choice from employees. And that was one of those things that they controlled the executive, they controlled Congress. And by all rights, they should have been able to have gotten it passed, and yet they weren't able to. So makes you wonder, well, maybe they were, or they do have to listen to the people every now and then, right?
Well, they do. And there was a group of us from Indianapolis that was heavily involved, business people. We spent a lot of time in Washington right in front of the people that were responsible for this act. And as you say, it sounds like a good name, it sounds great, but what it is card check, where it eliminates a secret ballot election for people to be unionized and goes to just blatant intimidating them and signing cards. And we were able to get in front of people, but that's the problem, Kerry, is most people in this country don't understand what's going on, and most people, they're living their daily lives and taking care of their family and their friends and, doing their jobs and that. And they just don't even think about this stuff. They don't even realize what's going on. And somehow we need to wake up the American people to all this stuff, and so that they get more involved and we stop more of this stuff. And that's why I hope my book becomes a movie.
Yeah. And hey, when you look at what's going on here, it's just lawlessness, right?
Well, it is, and it's really sad. And when you have big labor going out, force unionizing people, then taking their dues money, and probably 35% of it or so is going to politics, about which 90% of it's to the Democrats, to shape policy and to get these people to do what they want them to do so that they can control this country. It's just wrong. And we have to take our country back. We really do.
Yeah. So how do we do it, though, is really the question, Dave.
Well, and I talk about this in my book, too. I outline a bunch of points on how we do this, and in some of the blogs I've written also that, first of all, I'm a firm believer in term limits, and I know a lot of people fight me on that, and they have some good reasoning in that. But at the end of the day, I've been to Washington enough, and I see how people just become infatuated with that town, the money, the fame, the fortune, the lifestyle, and all that type of thing. And I think we need to give them a couple terms in each office, and then let them go back home to private life, because I'll tell you a story that I've not written about, but I couldn't believe it when I heard it. I was in front of one of the politicians in Washington, and I'm talking to him about term limits and all the stuff that's going on, and we need to get people out of this town and back to real life so they know what's going on. And this guy, Kerry, has a law degree, but he looked at me and with a straight face, and he says, "Dave, I don't know what I'd do in the private sector." I said, "Are you kidding me? You have a law degree."
That's a great story. And I kind of feel like I don't know what I would do in Washington. I don't think I could relate to those people. And I think I'd buy a one-way ticket back home and get the heck out of that place as fast as possible. I remember one time I was lobbying for a friend, and we did meet with a couple of congressmen. We met with a bunch of staffers, and it did basically absolutely no good. Nobody was interested in doing anything. And, well, hey, let's talk more about what you can do, how you can help take back your country and be proud once again to be an American on the Financial Survival Network.
FSN Radio. It's all about what's next.
Every week the show is growing. Would you like to be a part of it? Then go to clubfsn.com and help support us with $1, $2, $5, or $10 a month and get a host of premium content with newsletters dropped into your mailbox, free books, private audio clips, webinars, and much more. Then join clubfsn.com. If you want to get ahead of the trend and ensure your family's financial security before it's too late, go to clubfsn.com and sign up.
The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
In case you just joined us, we're talking with Dave Bego, who recently wrote a book about his experiences fighting labor unions, and somehow he won, which is in itself an unusual occurrence. And if they were taking odds in Las Vegas, he certainly would have been a long shot. He would have been that horse with, at the end of the pack. That you would have never expected to even finish the race, but somehow, Dave, you did it. And when you're in Washington, and it sounds like you've been there a number of times, how do you communicate with these people? You've got to be it's got to be a very frustrating experience.
Well, it is, and I've had the opportunity to speak in front of the Republican Whip Committee, and I've talked to them about the fact that one of the ways that I beat the SEIU is I went on the offensive, and I exposed them for what they are and what they're doing, and I turned their misinformation around on them, and I didn't let their intimidation affect me, and I didn't let it bother me what was being printed in the media, because they came after me in the media also, and I spent probably 15 minutes speaking in front of that group, which is, the top 40 or 50 in the House. And, here's the sad part. These people looked at me like I'm crazy. They're not going to, put themselves in those positions. And, they're afraid to, because they're afraid of not going to get reelected. And all they want to do is, not make waves. And we don't need people like that. That's not who our founding fathers were, and the people that made this people great. They know there's times where they got to go out and they got to take the offensive and stand up to the bullies. And we don't have people in Washington like that. And I've talked to these people directly about it, and I've gone into their offices and talked about it. And it's almost like you look into the glazed eyes, Kerry, and it's very frustrating.
Yeah, and for the average person to go there, for you to actually pick up and go there and go talk to your congressman or your senator, assuming they'll see you, and they probably will. They actually will, because they like to see constituents, even though they're not really out there to do anything for you. It's just, I don't know quite how to describe it, but, it's quite an experience.
Well, it is, but I think if Americans start banding together and we start pushing, and going and seeing our constituents and telling them how we feel about things, that, we need term limits, we need to get people in, we need to start putting restrictions on government, and we need to do things that provide for all people, not just crony capitalism and other things that are going on in this country. And it's kind of like the illegal situation. Kerry, here about a month and a half ago, my company lost a huge contract down in the Southeast. And the reason we lost it is because there's a company out of Denver, Colorado, that's hiring illegals and paying them under the table. Well, first of all, they're not making anywhere near minimum wage. And number two, the company's not paying payroll taxes or anything like that. Of course, there's no benefits. And, for companies like us that are doing things the right way, we can't even come close to competing because it's a minimum of 30% advantage for these people. And yet our government will not shut the borders down, and it's costing American jobs and lowering wages across the country because good companies have to compete.
Yeah, big problem. And neither party seems very intent on doing that, do they?
No, that's what I say. They don't. It's like when I talk to the WIC committee. It's like we're not going to ruffle feathers here. We're not going to go out and do that because they're all afraid what's going to be said in the media and stuff like that. And what I found out, Kerry, is that the media was on the side of the SEIU, even in my hometown here in Indianapolis. Is that when I came out and I started being vocal about it and challenging them, the media actually kind of they did flip-flop. They didn't come after me. They didn't give me as much time as they gave the union, but they certainly didn't badmouth me. And I realized I was standing up for what was right and for my employees and my customers and the American way. And I don't understand. Well, I do understand because, when the union attacked me, they went after all the major cleaning companies throughout the Midwest, us being one of them. And all of them signed the neutrality agreement except me. And I've since talked to some of these people in these companies, and they said, Dave, we wish we'd have stood up with you. We just didn't want to make waves. We were afraid of what would happen to us in the press and everything. And I had one businessman in another industry tell me, Dave, I agree with you on everything. I just couldn't stand to be put under that type of pressure.
Yeah. So the pressure that you were put under, Dave, how'd you deal with that? Must have been tough for you and your family, huh?
Well, it was. And, I was concerned. You're always concerned about your family and that. But, I look back and I talk about this in my book to my mom and dad. They brought me up to do the right things and to defend myself and defend my family and that. And I just, I couldn't let go of that. My mom died, it'll be 24 years ago this Thanksgiving Day. And, she was a fighter. She played sandlot football and baseball with the guys. So you kind of get a feel for where I get my backbone.
Mm-hmm. So how long did your fight continue for, Dave?
Well, it was about 4 years, a little over 4 years. And, it cost us a lot of time and money, but, I think we did the right thing. And Kerry, what I really feel good about is that we now have employees across the country that are members of the union that are starting to stand up and challenge their union, like the gal, Miriam the Mighty in my book. She's a member of the SEIU in California. And she doesn't like them at all. In fact, she's an immigrant from Egypt, and she saw what happened over there, and she's afraid it's going to happen in this country. And she has challenged him. She's got a lawsuit against him, and she is in June. She got a program together to get a bunch of SEIU members to sign what's called a non-germane agreement, which unions, when it's submitted to them, have to reduce the union dues by the amount that's used for politics and organization, and which reduced their dues about 35%. And from what I hear, she got 40 to 50% of the members in her local to sign that. That's
Wow.
pretty good.
Amazing.
And this is why I say Americans have to stand up. We have to go out and we have to do things.
Hey, and you only have to look, Dave, at the states that have recently converted to right-to-work states. Michigan, Indiana are the latest two, and they're growing faster than other states. And now that that citizens of those states have been given an option, now that they have a choice, what have they done in those states, Dave?
Well, here's the sad thing, and I was involved in right to work both here in Indiana and in Michigan. And one of the things that the right to work laws don't address as adequately as they should is what's called the checkoff clause. And that's where the government or the companies have to take dues money out of the employee's paycheck and send it to the union. And so what has happened in a lot of cases is that people are afraid to drop out of the union because they're being intimidated behind the scenes. You better not go tell your employer to stop taking the money out of your paycheck and stuff like that. And what should have happened is it should have just been an automatic thing that no company or government will be allowed to take dues out of the employee's paycheck. If they want to be part of the union, they can send them a check. And so, I mean, right to work's a good thing, and there have been a lot of people that have benefited from it, but there is that drawback to it.
But yet in Michigan, the Michigan Educational Association, MEA, is losing thousands and thousands of members as we speak. And, so far 60,000 teachers were eligible to leave the union last month, since a lot of districts illegally extended their contracts, but They let them do it, and they're leaving, right?
Yeah, they have. They've lost a lot. And Michigan's right to work has a little bit, I think, in their right to work law, there was something on the government employee side where the dues couldn't be taken out. But on the private side, that's still a problem up there. In Indiana, back in Governor Daniels in his first term, right after he took office, he actually wrote an executive order where the government couldn't take dues out of the employees' paychecks, the public employees. And what's interesting about that is that right away, 92% of the public employees dropped out of the union.
92%. So there you have what happens when people actually are free to choose, to paraphrase Milton Friedman's seminal work back from the 90s or the 80s. And Dave, just tell us where we find your website, how we get your book.
Well, they can go to the devil at our doorstep.com, and they can read my blogs there. They can get my book at a discount, or if you want to go to Amazon, you can get my book there too and get it on the electronic. I guess it's Kindle. And I hope people read it because I didn't write it to become famous or anything. I wrote it to wake up America.
And they do indeed need to be woken up. Find the link in the show notes to this interview on financialsurvivalnetwork.com. And don't forget, take a look at that site. We've got hundreds of articles every week that we aggregate from hundreds of websites around the internet. You really want to take a look at it. Great site. And sign up for our newsletter. Dave, thanks so much for being on. It's always a pleasure.
Well, Kerry, I really appreciate what you're doing. Please keep up the good work.
FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.